These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
It's a scoop session and perhaps a reckless speculation Thursday to all who celebrate here with our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. Our guy Judd is back after spending time with family this week.
Glad all is okay, Judd. Good to have you back.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, good to have you both in the mix here. Vikings continued their off-season workouts. Doogie was there. What did you learn? Where do you want us? Let's start the scoop session with Vikings practice yesterday.
Well, I mean, it was a beautiful day to take in a Vikings organized team activity, voluntary, right? So, sure, if you want to note that Justin Jefferson wasn't there or Andrew Van Ginkel wasn't there, fine, but they don't need to be present until next week. There is a belief, chatting with Brandon Powell after practice, that we will see Justin Jefferson on the field. Like last year, he was there for the mandatory minicamp, that we will see Justin on the field next week. The two quarterbacks, right? You watch the quarterbacks. I mean, they had good days, but what does it really mean in late May, early June? But just the way Darnold, McCarthy, the ball came out of their hands.
Are they spinning it?
Spinning it, right? All of that. It looked fine. It's not like either had a bad day. Had a nice chat with Josh Metellus after practice, or whatever you want to call it, organized team activity. He is very much pro this chatter. Now, they are soliciting feedback from him, many others, in terms of, okay, is it time to get rid of this portion of the offseason? OTAs, mandatory minicamp. Our buddy Tom Pelissero had the initial steam on this a couple days ago. Josh Metellus is pro the idea of, hey, let's just report like mid-June. Who knows what the exact date would be, but sometime in mid-June, let's ramp up. He doesn't like the idea of we go all out. Then he chases a trainer. Like last year, he stayed here. He worked with my good buddy, who's fantastic, Bill Welly, over at Training House. But Josh is like, hey, like we put all this work in, then we ramp down, then it's on us to go find our own individual trainers. And hey, I've got some people back home, but I wanted to stay here in the Twin Cities from mid-June until end of July. So I had to go chase down a trainer. He's like, instead of like doing that, let's just ramp up mid-June and go all the way through. So Patel is very much pro that. Also had a nice chat with Shaq Griffin. Certainly when, he was thinking about the prospects of free agency, it's late January, February. He circled Minnesota. Wasn't sure if it would come to fruition, but he certainly looked at the Brian Flores defense, his skill set, how he would fit here. So Shaq Griffin is very, very happy that it came together, that he is a Viking. Then had a nice chat with Christian Darrisaw. Darrisaw is loving Dallas Turner. Now, hey, again, it's June or it's late May, right? Like, let's see when the pads come on. But him laying out the spin move that Turner put on one of his teammates the other day, he was gushing about Turner. Plus, very grateful that Dalton Risner is back. This thing ramped up in the last couple days. Like, there had been ongoing dialogue, really one-sided. Like, Drew Rosenhaus, the new agent for Risner, kept working the Vikings. Like, Drew brokered deals this offseason on who? Grenard, Van Ginkel, Jones. Like, he was on a roll, Drew Rosenhaus, with the Vikings. So, he's got this new client, Dalton Risner, knowing that Risner wanted to be back here. So he kept working the phones, working Brzezinski, others with the Vikings. Hey, like, Dalton wants to be back. Let's find a way. Can you pay him? And in the end, the contract hasn't been filed yet, so we don't have the exact numbers. But the buzz is it's like heavy with incentives. So pretty much the Vikings got Dalton to re-sign pretty much on their terms. This is a team-friendly contract, the Vikings with Dalton Risner.
Was this the plan A the entire time, Dukes, too? Because, Blake Brandel, who I do think that they like a lot, and who O'Connell has talked up for basically a year now, was an interesting potential starter at left guard. But I have to wonder if they thought, okay, a year ago, Risner sat on the market for how long? Into the season. And so if the thought process from TCL was, if we basically be patient here, we can get him back too, as you just said, on their own terms. I wonder if this was plan A the entire time, with the expectation that Dalton wouldn't find a payday elsewhere, probably.
Yes. I mean, I think there was always mutual interest. I mean, I noted a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was 3 weeks ago in this space, like crickets, like there was nothing in terms of movement because the Vikings were just sitting back waiting, right, for the phone to ring again. It's not like the Vikings were being uber aggressive in this regard, blowing up Drew's phone saying, please, come on, Dalton, come on back.
Right.
This was the agent doing his job when you have a client in late May that is unemployed trying to find said client a job, a contract, right? So the Vikings just sat back. But yes, I mean, there always was enough interest. I'm now fascinated to see, okay, like is Risner locked in at left guard where he feels confident, okay, I'll sign this incentive-laden contract because I know I will meet many, if not all of those incentives. So, hey, okay, I'll start at left guard. Does Brandel then move to right guard? Is that the competition now to watch, Brandel versus Ingram for the right guard starting spot?
Yeah, we touched on that a little bit yesterday on Purple Daily, that I think everyone's looking at left guard, but Ed Ingram got better from year 1 to year 2. So I do think he's given a chance to start. I think there's a good chance at this point that Blake Brandel is a well-compensated swing man who's played some tackle, he's played some guard, he's just kind of your guy at 4 different positions. But it's not like Ed Ingram has that right guard spot on lockdown, right? If he has a bad first month, then could. Now, the interesting thing about Risner is he's played 5 years in the NFL, like 4,500 snaps. 100% of his snaps are left guard snaps. So I think Brandel could move different places, maybe Ingram even at some point, but Risner feels like at this point in his career, he is a left guard, which is unusual, I think, usually if you can play interior, you can maybe move across to 2 different positions. But yeah, it feels like 3 guys fighting for 2 spots with Risner being pretty exclusively on the left side.
And if Brandel is that swing guy, if Ingram beats him out in August, fine, so be it. It's not like it's like this ridiculous contract if he is the main backup.
Yeah.
You're right, Phil. I mean, 4 positions. Because like the Vikings would be okay if Brandel beats out Ingram. They're okay putting Brandel, my understanding is, at right guard, right? So they feel comfortable. Okay, you can play right guard. You can play left guard. Now, Quessenberry is back, right? So, maybe Brandel's not the number 1 backup at 4 positions, but he has that sort of versatility. To me, the bigger question, it's not whether Risner, could shift to right guard, right? I'm with you. Like, he's a left guard. It's why he was still on the market here in late May. We saw some other guards come off the market. Heck, some that were heavily compensated. Why wasn't a deal out there for Risner? And I just don't have, I guess I could recklessly speculate here on this Reckless Speculation Thursday, but I don't have a great answer for that right in this moment.
It's 2 consecutive years too. Like what's weird is he sat on the market in 2023 into the season. Hey, one thing quick. So I know that players would love to get into camp in June, ramp up, training camp starts, and eliminate a lot of the April and May stuff, if not entirely. First of all, the coaches hate this idea. So that's going to be a sticking point.
Well, it messes with their vacation. Yeah.
Exactly right. And second of all, the league is not going to forfeit the springtime formula it's perfected. Like if the league says, okay, that's cool, then you go draft, which is awesome, schedule release, which has become great, right? And then you go dark. They ain't going to allow that.
And
so
think about rookies need something. You can't just and by the way, most players shouldn't be allowed to just run free for like 4 or 5 months in the offseason and then come back in June. Right. You're going to see a lot of players without that checkpoint in May and early June coming back in poor shape or whatever. Like, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like I know the players from their perspective, we just want less wear and tear and we want to be able to roam free and do what we want. It's like, okay, that's great, but the product can't suffer. And we don't want players getting arrested or getting fat. I don't like it.
Well, and we know, Josh even mentioned this, that, hey, like this 18th game is coming here pretty quick.
Yes.
Right? So if you're asking us to play another game, like, okay, if enough players are on board, is that the meeting in the middle? Okay, let's play that 18th game, but you're not seeing us April and May. But Judd, you're right. Like the NFL loves to have a footprint in literally every month.
Yep.
And the footprint they have in June are these mandatory mini camps, which are spread across the league over, a couple weeks. It's not like every team has its mandatory mini camp next week like the Vikings. So the NFL creates content, has content for a couple weeks in June. Yes, okay, then it shuts down through the 4th of July holiday, but then next thing you know, who's ever playing in that Hall of Fame game is starting training camp. What is it, July 17th, July 18th? Right? I mean, it's pretty quick after the 4th of July. So they have this strong footprint in the month of July as well. So I'm with you. I'm not sure the players are going to get their way on this, but I can just tell you Metellus, and he echoed the sentiment of some of his teammates that he's at least, broached this topic with, that they are pro this idea.
Mm-hmm. I went through and just watched, I wasn't at practice, but I watched the 10-minute Josh McCown press conference. Really just impressive. Seems like he has a ton of perspective.
I think he'll be a head coach one day. Yeah.
I do too. Yeah. I'm curious what your thoughts were hearing him in long form now that he's out at practice. They've got JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold in the room. What were your main takeaways from Josh McCown?
Well, I mean, I'll be frank. I mean, as he was holding court at the podium, that's when I was working, the field and talking to some other guys. So I wasn't locked in on his news conference. I did hear the tail end. I mean, just the way he articulates thoughts. I mean, very impressive. But I will tell you, knowing that he was going to approach the podium, we locked in. So myself, the photojournalist I was working with, we, for the first, 45 minutes that we could shoot, right? The Vikings have a drop-off point of you can only shoot video for the first hour or so, or 50 minutes, then you can't. But for those first 50 minutes to an hour, we were locked in pretty heavily on McCown, just watching his interactions with McCarthy, all the quarterbacks, even Jaron Hall, right? It seems like he's very much got control. Those guys were locked in on him. I get it. It's just late May, but the fact that he commands, that situation, that side of the field, working with those quarterbacks, definitely impressive.
I think one thing, and it's going to have to play out, really interesting, though, to keep an eye on is beyond the title that Josh carries, what's his role as well? Because, this is not going to be a traditional quarterback's coach. Like, we've seen that.
He doesn't come here as a traditional quarterback.
Exactly right. He almost comes here as a pseudo OC as well.
Yes.
And Wes Phillips, God bless him. But, Josh and Kevin both played quarterback to varying degrees of different success, but they both played QB in this league. So I am really, really curious to see how this unfolds as far as what Josh's role is. Does he become more involved potentially in play calling with Kevin? I think Kevin learned, I think the first year went really, really well, and that was fun. And I think last year had its hiccups, had its speed bumps. And so I'm wondering, I'm not saying that KOC is ever going to give up play calling. I am curious if he's going to tweak his philosophy a bit, though, especially with a voice in the room now that he probably gives a lot of weight to.
Yeah, I mean, to what degree, to what extent, I guess that will play out, Judd, but undoubtedly tweak, right? Especially Monday through Saturday, right. I guess TBD in-game stuff is moving so fast. But in terms of game planning, there's no way McCown comes here as some sort of traditional, pecking order, third or fourth in charge in terms of the offense, right? He is going to have a pretty big voice. Heck, we saw that pre-draft, right? His voice was, I'm not saying he was the determining voice in them, moving up a spot, ultimately deciding on JJ McCarthy, but he was in Ann Arbor for McCarthy's pro day. He made the rounds. Just his heavy involvement pre-draft spoke to me, at least. I mean, actions, not words. I mean, just the actions, the way he operated pre-draft tells me that his involvement is going to be very, very big. Hey, a Vikings note just came in, boys. So this will be out soon. This is not good news. Everson Griffin is once again in custody.
Damn.
I don't have all the details. Mound. Yeah, just Everson. He's battled so much stuff.
Yeah. That's too bad.
He's been helping out at Minnetonka High School with the football program.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I mean, he's tried to get his life in order, but yes, you'll see that out at some point here. I've got the photo here. I've got the booking charges. So, yeah, unfortunate news here. On
do we know what the charges are?
Everson Griffin.
Are you comfortable giving us the charges, or is it still coming in?
I don't have. I mean, they're out there. I mean, it's public knowledge at this point if you go to the jail roster, but I don't have it in this text message I just got.
Okay. Yeah, man, he's had a hard go of it for sure.
He's had a very hard go of it. Yeah.
So
anyway,
we'll
hopefully
keep an eye on that. Okay.
everything is okay. Nobody was hurt or anything like that. I don't have all the details, but this was just sent to me that, yeah, he's in custody right now.
Okay. Hey, we'll get to the rest of Doogie's scoop bag here in a moment after we say hello to our friends at Bachman's. Now, you guys might be thinking, Bachman's flowers, huh? Okay. All right. Well, yes, flowers, but so much more than flowers at Bachman's. In fact, my wife and I were just at the Bachman's off 55 a couple days ago. We were doing some shopping for landscaping items like small trees, some flowers, and some other landscaping items to make our townhouse look like a better oasis. Also, they've got a gift shop section of Bachman's that we picked up a couple things for our neighbor who had a birthday over the weekend. 15% off pallets of mulch right now. They've got all sorts of helpful people, horticulturalists inside Bachman's to help you turn your outdoor area into a summer oasis. Think about hosting, entertaining the neighbors, looking over at your lawn saying, ooh, we should do that next year, right? Bachman's can help you elevate your game. There's 7 locations in the Twin Cities: Minneapolis, Apple Valley, Eden Prairie, Plymouth, Fridley, Maplewood, and Cedar Acres, Lakeville. Doogs, Timberwolves tonight, they're still alive. There is a rumor going around that Kevin Garnett may show up to Target Center for Game 5. Interesting.
Yes, Kendrick Perkins, my buddy. I sent him a note this morning. Haven't heard back from Kendrick quite yet, but he did say on NBA Today, on ESPN yesterday, that he hears that KG will be in the house tonight. I can tell you, I reached out to a couple Wolves people. They have not heard this. I did get sent the celebrity list so far for tonight. You ready for it? Here we go.
Oh, let's go.
Here you go. Ricky Davis.
Okay.
Jennifer Hudson.
Okay.
Oh.
That's
All right.
That's
Jennifer Hudson.
That's
Yeah.
legit.
Yeah, maybe
Legit.
I buried the lead. Common.
Common the rapper? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Common.
Yep, Common the
actor,
rapper.
too.
So a couple of musicians, Jennifer Hudson, Common, and Ricky Davis. Christian Darrisaw did tell me he was planning on going, although it's the Vikings charity, well, the Thielen Foundation and CJ Ham Scholarship Fund charity softball game tonight at CHS Field. So I don't know if Darrisaw forgot. Maybe he was going to be involved in that, or is he saying, you know what, I got to be at Game 5. Jordan Addison was also begging for a ticket at the podium yesterday.
Saw that.
So I'm sure some number of Vikings will be there, but I know a number of Vikings will be at CHS Field tonight to help out the Thielen Foundation and the CJ Ham Scholarship Fund. But I will also tell you, I reached out to Gary Trent Sr., one of KG's good friends. Troy Hudson, another one of KG's good friends. Have yet to hear back from those two. But certainly Kendrick, knowing KG as well as he does, I don't think he randomly threw that out there. So to be determined.
Do you
But I can
think
tell
he
you
would...
a couple Wolves people as of this morning have not been told that he's indeed going to be in the building.
I don't think he would tell Wolves people. I think he would show up with A-Rod.
Which
I
is
think
very, very
he would
possible.
just sit by A-Rod and Laurie. Or does he sit? Or I mean, if Wolves people don't know, usually they would put like
He
Wally
would sit by
Zerbiak
Laurie and
sat
A-Rod.
under the
Laurie and A-Rod. Yeah.
Super interesting. Right across from Glenn.
Just all 3 of them staring daggers at Glenn.
Yes.
Just beautifully uncomfortable right there.
Juicy. And then going back into the same tunnel area. It's very, very tight. I mean, there's like literally a walkway behind the curtain that you can just bump straight into people. Oh man, I might just hang out back there the whole night just to see.
Correct. Yeah. Don't be
Those two
courtside
guys.
tonight, Phil. Yeah. Just hang out in the back area. Hang out right outside that owner's suite. That's the
Glenn-
place to be tonight. Forget by the TNT set.
Yeah.
Right back there.
But
Do
Glenn,
it, Phil. Please.
Glenn might
for all
say
of us.
hi. Glenn, hey KG, what's going on? Long time no see.
Goes in for a
Glenn's so
hug.
weird. We don't know. He might be like, hey guys, what's going on?
You should
Well,
come
I mean,
around
he did
here
it
more
before
often.
Game 1 against Phoenix, right?
know.
The awkward bro hug
That's what I'm
with
saying.
A-Rod. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Glenn.
Where you
at this
been,
point.
Kevin? Why you been staying away for so long?
What's the line now, Phil? Is it Wolves -5 or 5.5?
The last I saw was yesterday at 4.5. I don't know which direction.
I think
it's
it moved
so-
up. Yeah, no, I mean, the Wolves are a heavy favor, right? I mean, shades of 2004, where the Wolves win a Game 5 to force a Game 6 on the road. You know, then Kareem Rush went off in Game 6. Kobe and Shaq also had good games. The Wolves ultimately lose that series in 6 and 04, but, you know, feels kind of the same way. I mean, like, how do you not like the Wolves' chances a ton tonight? Even with Derek Lively, optimism that Lively is going to be back tonight for Dallas. I don't know how you don't love the Wolves' chances. I mean, they've had the lead with, 5-ish minutes to go?
In every game.
In every game, right? Yeah. So you figure they're going to be in another position tonight to have a lead. The question is, what's the size of that lead? Because I still think if it's a 1 or 2 possession game, like you still favor Dallas in those situations, even though they didn't perform in game 4, right? You still like Dallas's chances compared to the Wolves' chances in crunch time. So the hope would be it's more like a 5 to 7 point lead, right? With 5-ish minutes to go, not a 2-point lead or a 1-point lead. But yeah, I mean, you have to love the Wolves' chances tonight.
Yeah.
The Mavericks, by the way, kudos to the Mavs. The Lively terming it a neck sprain.
Yes.
Is the most genius thing I've seen. Because if that guy doesn't have a concussion, then I've never seen one in my entire life.
He was wobbly, man.
But they very carefully.
Very wobbly.
But they very carefully. I have not seen the word, unless I've missed this during my time away. I have not seen the word concussion associated.
I mean, there is a protocol and all that, right? So
I know.
I don't know what the policy is on publicly declaring.
I'm just saying
all that information. But yeah, I mean, he looked incredibly wobbly.
Looked like a boxing guy.
I mean, that was after he took that shot to the groin in Game 3. So his body was incredibly beat up. How about this? Did you get the email, Phil Judd, on the Karl Anthony Towns odds for his next team? Which, by the way, especially coming off Game 4, like
later.
Wolves, right? Like, you got to run this thing back now. You didn't get swept, even if you lose tonight.
There's a conversation, but now's not the time. There's a conversation, but now's not the time. That's what
it's a talker, right? So I was shocked to see, again, like, if I made odds, Karl Anthony Towns next season is playing for the Wolves, okay? But next team, New Orleans Pelicans, 3-1, Orlando Magic, 4-1, Oklahoma City Thunder, 5-1. I don't think the Wolves, if they end up trading Karl Anthony Towns, are trading him to, well, especially Oklahoma City.
Orlando, like, get him out of the...
New Orleans, like, you're trading him to a Western Conference rival? I have a hard time
send him to the East.
That.
He'd go to the East, almost certainly.
Agreed.
So,
yes.
I know you got to get going here. You have other things to get to here, Doogie.
Mark Davis, the crew chief. The Wolves have played well with him as the crew chief. 3-1 this postseason.
Oh, we could get fit. Let's get physical, baby.
And the other Mark Davis is not the father. Joey Gallo is the father.
Joey Gallo is the father.
Somebody posted a great video, a retweet saying, "Here's the gender reveal," and it's a guy like swinging and missing at a pitch, and then the ball hits the ground and explodes in blue, and I could see that happening for sure.
Royce Lewis batting second, playing third base, day game for the Saints today. Declan, what sounds like next week for Royce back in the Twins lineup, not this weekend in Houston?
I would be surprised if it's Houston at this point.
I would be surprised as well.
The Saints are in Rochester. They're playing like a 6-game series in Rochester. I don't understand how that happens. But anyway.
Well, all these series are 6, aren't they?
Are they 6 now?
Yeah.
Okay, minor league baseball's always been strange. So it makes sense if he just remains in New York and the Twins are playing the Yankees and they're getting their Sunday night travel logistics just to keep them there. Took Diego Castillo like 3 days to get here because there's no more, speaking of Luke Hughes missing the flight, there is no more direct flights from Minneapolis to Rochester, New York anymore. I don't believe that's a thing.
Right. Yeah, so the Twins begin a series at Yankee Stadium. Is that Monday?
They're off Monday.
Off Monday, begin Tuesday?
So
okay,
they'll
him
be
staying in Rochester and then going Rochester to New York City. Yeah, okay.
They'll be in New York Sunday night.
Yep, makes sense.
I think.
Then what's the corresponding roster move, right? I mean, we wait and see on that. It can't be Jose Miranda.
No.
It can't be Trevor Larnach.
No.
I don't think it's Eddie Julian, right? So are you willing to DFA Farmer? I mean, I don't think so. They value that leadership. I don't know how to quantify that, but they do. So I'm fascinated to see. Maybe something happens in the next few games where it's an easy decision at that point. But I'm just saying, you cannot send down Jose Miranda.
They could like phantom
I get he's got the option,
Farmer.
But you can't do it.
I bet it'll be a phantom IL.
Yeah.
Kyle, how's your elbow? What do you mean? Does your elbow feel a little sore?
You did
your knee or your hamstring?
I did ask him because he changed his walk-up music for like the 6th time this year, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm just trying everything at this point." So he went to Peaches Now by Justin Bieber. He was like, "That worked in Cincinnati," so he was like, "I'm going with that." And I was like, "Okay, probably a good idea."
See.
All right, boys. I'm off to Wolves shoot around. Happy birthday to my lovely wife, Laura. See you, boys. We'll talk next
Laura,
week.
Happy birthday, Laura.
Yes,
You're a
saint. Absolutely.
Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. We'll see you at Target Center.
Bye.
Sounds good. See ya.
Good stuff.